Dr. R. Sugaraj Samuel. He is working as a professor in physics at New College, Chennai. He is also training students for IIT JEE, AIEEE and BIT SAT. He has more than 16 years experience in both teaching and research. He has published a book titled The Complete Handbook of Bachelor of Electronic Science Practicals, which is prescribed for the syllabus for BSc Electronic Science by University of Madras. He has presented papers in several national and international conferences and has also conducted many training programs and workshops to motivate energetic students. His research areas are ultrasonic, polymers, crystal growth and photovoltaic systems. He is experienced in both regular classroom teaching and online teaching as well.
Welcome to UGC lecture series for BSc Honours in Physics. We have been discussing about the topics related to electricity and magnetism. Before we start this lecture, let us see what we are going to learn in this lecture in the session outline. In this lecture, we are going to learn about power dissipation in alternating current circuits. In short, we call it as AC circuits. Then the term power factor and bandwidth of resonance curve, and finally parallel LCR circuit. Let us start with the power dissipation in alternating current circuits, in short AC circuits. We know when current flows through a circuit, there is a power loss due to the Joule heating. This is applicable when there is a ohmic resistance present in a direct current circuit or the alternating current circuit. In this lecture series, we are concentrating on the alternating current circuits. So, we are going to discuss about the power dissipated or power consumed pertaining to the alternating current circuits. Let us look into the expressions related to the power. It is the product of current and voltage. This concept is well known to us. So, this is applicable for the direct current circuits also. Even for alternating current circuits, the same formula is applicable. Using Ohm's law, we modify the expression for power into I square R and V square by R, like that. We modify it according to our convenience, but basically it is a product of the current and voltage. So, with this we will start the discussion pertaining to the alternating current circuits. So, let us look at the expression. In an AC circuit, the current and voltage vary continuously with time. Therefore, power at a given instant of time is calculated and then its average is taken over a complete cycle. Thus, we define instantaneous power of an AC circuit as the product of the instantaneous voltage and the instantaneous current flowing through it. We are now having a term called the instantaneous power that is available or that is being consumed in the circuit. We have to just take the instantaneous value of the current and voltage and multiply them. Then how do we get the average value? There is a mathematical method that gives us the average power. So, we have to depend on the integral and try to get the average value. How it is done? Mathematically. So, let us look at the mathematical way of finding out the average power in an AC circuit. Have a look at this. The instantaneous value of voltage and current is given by these two expressions here. This is the expression for the instantaneous value of voltage. V is equal to V naught sin omega t, and similarly we have an expression for the instantaneous value of current. And when we carefully look at the two expressions, in what way they vary. In the case of current, we have introduced the term phi. V naught sin omega t is there for voltage, I naught sin omega t plus phi. This phi is introduced for accommodating the power, the phase difference that might be possible between the voltage and current. We already have the knowledge about the phase difference between the current and voltage as far as the alternating current circuits are concerned. Anyway, we will brush up them before we get into the mathematical aspect of finding the average value of the power consumed in an alternating current circuit. But let us go ahead with the discussion that is presented here, where phi is the phase difference between the voltage and current in an alternating current circuit. Now, we are making an attempt to find out the average power consumed over a complete cycle, and here look at the integration. It is done from 0 to t. What does that mean? It is done over a full cycle, and we have substituted the V and I values. We have to substitute for them the expressions we had in the previous slide, and we are dividing with time because we want to find out for the average time. And see, if you integrate the denominator over a full cycle, it is the total time period t, and here we have substituted for the current and also for the voltage, which we have already stated. Now, without getting much into the way in which the integration is done, we would like to take up the result that we arrive at from the integration, because from that we need to learn a lot. So, this is the final expression we get from the integration. Have a look at the value. When we integrate and finally arrive at the expression, this is what we will be getting. P average is equal to, after the full integration, we need to use the integral methods for arriving at this expression. I would like to avoid the mathematical steps involved, but this is the final expression we have. It is V naught I naught divided by 2 and cos phi. The cos phi once again comes here. What is this phi? It is the phase difference that we have introduced that might be between the voltage and current. Here we have taken as if the current is leading the voltage, and we can further go ahead. This divided by 2 is distributed here as root 2 and root 2 for the voltage and current. When you have this, what comes to our mind when we look at this V naught divided by root 2 and I naught divided by root 2, what comes to our mind? These are the RMS values. This term is also very familiar to us, root mean square value, that has been already done. So, these two expressions automatically come in the final expression for the average power calculation. We have to be very cautious here, though we have the Vrms and Irms appearing in the final expression for the average power, the power is not calculated as RMS value, it is the average power. We do the integration for a full cycle, it is done from 0 to t. But when we do the RMS value, we have to do it in the reverse order, square them, take a mean and then finally take the root. For finding the mean, we normally do the integral approach, but that is totally a different concept. But here we are doing the average power calculation, a typical calculation, the integration is done from 0 to t, but in that expression too the RMS value is appearing along with the phase difference, that is coming as a cos phi term here. So, let us have a look at the final expression, and here we have the V RMS, I RMS and cos phi. So, this is the final expression for the P average. This is a very important expression. This has to be discussed at length. So, let us go ahead with the discussion. The P average has got two components, apparent power multiplied with power factor. What is called apparent power? The product VRMS and IRMS. This is called the apparent power, and along with that we have the other term power factor, which is cos phi, appearing in the expression for P average. The average power of an AC circuit is also called the true power of the circuit, because it has got the apparent power and also the power factor. What is apparent power? It is just the product of the two RMS values. What are the two quantities? Voltage and current. So, VRMS and IRMS. The product gives you the apparent power, but along with that the cos phi appears, which is called power factor. We need to discuss about the term power factor at length, because it is given as a separate title in our curriculum. So, let us discuss about the power factor. What is it? First of all, it is the term cos phi. In simple, if you want to say, it is cos phi. But what about the importance of power factor? Have a look at this. In inductor, the voltage leads current by the phase pi by 2. In capacitor, the current leads the voltage by pi by 2. These two expressions we already know, and one more is there. In the case of the resistor, ohmic resistor, both are in phase. There is no phase difference between current and voltage. This is a known concept to us. Now, the phase difference pi divided by 2 for the inductor and capacitor alone circuits, the cos phi becomes very important term. Let us see further what do we have. Hence, for both of them the power factor is 0, because cos phi, which is cos pi by 2, is 0. In an AC circuit which has only the L, the inductor, or C, the capacitor, the power consumed is 0. Is it not something surprising? When we have such circuits which have the inductor alone or capacitor alone as components, then there is no power consumed at all. Though there is VRMS, though there is IRMS, because the cos pi by 2, cos 90 is there, it is 0. So, there is no power consumed. That is the conclusion. Then what is the current that is flowing? It is called wattless current. It cannot do work. So, that is the final conclusion here. Such a current is called wattless current. So, when the power factor is 0, the cos phi, the whole term is called power factor. It is not the phi alone. Phi alone is phase difference. We have to be very clear with the terminologies. Phi alone is called the phase difference between the current and voltage. We need to be little careful which is leading the other. But cos phi, the whole term is called power factor. When phi is pi by 2 or 90 degree, then cos 90 is 0, then the power factor is 0. We should not say the phi is 0. If you say phi 0, then power factor becomes 1. So, we have to be very careful with the terminologies used. Phi is phase difference, cos phi is power factor. So, we have learnt about what is power factor. This is the extreme case when the phase difference is pi by 2, 90. It can be any value. Some of the circuits, LCR circuits, the alternating current circuits which have L with resistor or C with resistor or LCR all put together, either in series or in parallel. So, they will have some specific value for phi. Accordingly, the power factor will appear in the expression. So, it has a vital role in deciding the power consumed in a alternating current circuits or AC circuits. Let us see further what do we have. We are going to learn about the concept involved in choke coils. A choke coil is an inductance coil of very small resistance used for controlling current in a AC circuit. When we say here the resistance, what is this resistance? it is the ohmic resistance, that we have to keep in mind. I have not given what resistance it is the ohmic resistance. If an ohmic resistance is used to control the current, there is wastage of power due to Joule heating effect in the resistance. This we know already. When current flows through a resistor, there will be Joule heating. Even for direct current it is applicable, and here we are learning about the alternating current. It is a happening thing. When current flows through a resistor, there will be Joule heating. It is a wastage. It cannot be used unless until the phenomenon is used for the heating purpose fully, otherwise it is a waste. Now, how do we then control current in alternating current circuits? Because if you use resistor, there will be heating, but in AC circuits we have another approach to restrict the flow of current, that is what is called choke. Choke means what? Restricting. Choke, we have got choke in the throat, that means something is holding. So, like that we hold the current that is flowing through a coil, that is why it is called choke coil. It chokes the current, it limits the current. So, the last part if we read, we will understand what is the advantage. Let us go ahead. On the other hand, there is no dissipation of power when current flows through a pure inductor, because pure inductor can offer resistance. Just now we have seen a pure inductor will have what power factor? Power factor is 0 for it. Earlier we have seen that. So, ideally speaking, if we use an inductor coil in an alternating current circuit, the current is limited without wasting the power in heating, Joule heating, without wasting the energy in Joule heating. So, choke coils are used mainly for limiting the current without wastage in alternating current circuits. So, that is the advantage of the choke coil. Again the power factor comes into the picture. Because of the power factor which is 0 for choke coil, we can use it for limiting the current. What is the next topic? We have the power related things, another term called Q factor we are going to learn, because when we learn about the alternating current circuits, we have learnt about the resonance. In the case of resonance, we will have a term called Q factor associated with that. So, we will learn about the Q factor term and know about the importance of it. Let us see what is Q factor. Basically, Q factor has the definition given here. It is 2 pi multiplied with maximum energy stored divided by energy lost per cycle. So, this is the basic definition we have for Q factor. This basic definition is also arrived based on one concept, but it will be elaborately going deep into the subject, but we will start with the definition. It is the average power that is lost per cycle in the denominator, and in the numerator what is the maximum power that is stored. When we simplify this expression by substituting the suitable terms, we will again arrive at a very simple and easy to understand expression for Q. Q here is the Q factor, the expanded form is quality factor of the circuit, and which is related to the resonance that is occurring in a alternating current circuits. So, let us finally take up the easy expression that we have for the Q factor and discuss about it. So, have a look at it. When we derive the equations for the above ratio, we end up getting a very simple equation. So, this is the final expression or equation we get for the quality factor or Q factor. It is omega naught divided by delta omega. Omega naught is the resonance frequency. The frequency is mentioned here in angular frequency term, and the bandwidth is also represented in angular frequency. The delta omega, the delta represents its the bandwidth. So, it is the resonance frequency divided by bandwidth. So, we should know what is bandwidth also. Here is the explanation we have for bandwidth, where omega naught is the resonant frequency and delta omega is the bandwidth of the resonant curve. What are they? The resonant curve, when we have in our mind, it has got a spread and it will reach a maximum value at a particular frequency. That frequency is called the resonant frequency. This resonance is applicable for any kind of vibration, and here it is the current that is vibrating or oscillating in a circuit. So, that will definitely have a maximum value at some frequency. So, that is what we are going to take up for discussion. Have a look at the resonance curve here. So, this is the resonance curve. This is in particular for the series resonance circuit, which we have discussed in detail already. So, I have directly taken up the graph for discussion. This is the omega naught term. What is it? It is the resonant frequency. Why it is called resonant frequency? At this frequency, the current shoots up to maximum, and there is a spread happening in the curve, and the bandwidth is calculated at this part. If you carefully look at this, we have 0.707 times that of the maximum current. So, at that point we take the spread of the frequency, and that is marked as delta omega, that is called bandwidth. Why at 0.707 times I max we are taking? Is it that necessary, or why particularly at 0.707? We have got a mathematical explanation for it. We have a term called off power maximum. We take the bandwidth at a current for which the power is of the maximum power. Have a look at the expressions that I have given here. See, when we take power is proportional to I square for any circuit, and power is to be reduced by half. So, P by 2 here we have. If this has to be reduced by half, then the current has to be reduced by square root of 2. So, we have square root of 2 in the denominator, because we have got a square here. So, when we do that, the I has to be reduced in this manner. We have the I divided by root 2. When we substitute the value for that, it is I divided by 1.414. This is the value of root of square root of 2, and then if you take it to the numerator, we have 0.707 times I. Here I could be taken as I maximum. So, when we say off power gain or off power current, then the 0.707, it is not 0.5 times the current, it is the maximum current, it is 0.707 times the maximum current. So, what is assured? The power is off. So, at that point we take up the spread. There is a physical reason also why it is taken as off power current, because of the mathematical explanations that we normally arrive when we substitute the expressions for the original definition we had for the Q factor. So, this difference in the frequency delta omega is called the bandwidth, which is taken at off power current. This graph is plotted between the frequency and current, frequency along the x axis and current along the y axis. So, in that case we have taken the off power current. So, 0.707 times I max. What is the importance of that? It is spreading on both the sides of the resonance frequency. So, this is the expression for quality factor. Now, have a look at this. When we have the quality factor as a high one, then according to the previous definition, for a given omega naught, if the delta omega is very small, quality factor is high. What is the meaning of delta omega becoming very small? The spread will become narrow. The resonance is occurring at the same point, but the spread is becoming narrow. It will go like this somewhat, it will go like this. So, at that point we will take the spread will become narrow as we have a high quality factor. and quality factor will reduce when we have a very broader spread. We will have a broader spread. Accordingly, the maximum will reduce, the breadth will increase, it will become broader. So, all these have to be understood when we learn about the bandwidth. Bandwidth is related to the quality factor by the expression Q is equal to omega naught divided by delta omega. So, here ends the explanation we have for bandwidth. Now, we will move on to a particular circuit called the parallel resonant circuit for our discussion. Parallel resonant circuit. Consider a LCR circuit in which a resistor, inductor and capacitor are connected in parallel to each other. This parallel combination is supplied with an alternating voltage V. In parallel circuit, the voltage across each element remains the same and the current is divided in each component depending upon the impedance of each component. When you say parallel, the components, the voltage is same for all. So, that is why we call them as parallel. So, have a look at the circuit so that we get an idea how the parallel connection is given. So, this is the typical circuit. We have the power source here and then the resistor, inductor and capacitor, all these are connected in parallel to each other. So, the voltage is same, the voltage across them is the same because they are all connected to the voltage source. So, in parallel circuit, the voltage across each element remains the same and the current gets divided in each component depending upon the impedance of each component. See, here it is marked as the current that is flowing through the resistor as the term here I, the I is coming, and here the IL is there, IC is there, and we can also mark this as the current IR. I would like to put on suffix here. So, this is IR, the current that is flowing through the resistor as IR, through the inductor as IL and through the capacitor as IC. Depending on the impedance that they offer for a given frequency, the current will get divided. There are some parallel circuits in which the inductor and capacitor alone will be parallel and resistor could be in series for that combination. So, there are lots of such combinations possible, but I would like to take up this connection for the discussion. We can draw phasor diagrams for the discussion. So, what is a phasor diagram? We need to draw about the current and voltage and then the impedance. This is what it is done. Let us discuss further. The total current I drawn from the supply is equal to the vector sum of the resistive, inductive and capacitive current, not the mathematical sum of the three individual branch currents. We have to be very careful, it is a vector sum with the phase considered, because the current flowing in resistor, inductor and capacitor are not in same phase with each other. So, they cannot be added arithmetically. Now, this is the phasor diagram. Have a look at the phasor diagram. It gives us some clear idea about what leads what. When we look at the phasor diagram, we will get a clear picture of what leads what. Let us have a look at the phasor diagram here. This is the phasor diagram. Here the current is taken as the reference. The currents are all different. This is across the resistor, this IC is flowing through the capacitor, this IL is flowing through the inductor, and we have taken the voltage as the reference here. And when we take the effective value, we assume as if IL is greater than IC, and thus we have the explanation. And when we try to convert that into mathematical expression, this is what we finally get. This is the mathematical expression. See, it is a vector sum that we need to take. So, we square and take the current. Accordingly, when we substitute for the IR, IL and IC, these are very familiar method of doing. Finally, we get the current as like this. Its continuation is at resonance, the 1 divided by XL is equal to 1 divided by XC, or in general the impedance XL is equal to XC. What is XL? The inductive reactance. XC is capacitive reactance. These are familiar terms for us. So, I would like to quickly run through. We finally arrive at the expression for resonance frequency like this. Nu naught is the linear frequency shown here is 1 divided by 2 pi square root of LC. Even in series resonance circuit also the same kind of expression only we have. Now, we will have a comparison between the parallel resonance and series resonance. What is happening at resonance in the circuit? Have a look at this. See, at resonance for a parallel LCR circuit, we have this regular circuit, the inductive components and capacitive components are here. So, it is open circuited here, the current only flows through IR, it is open circuit, that means the component is not present physically at resonance. In comparison, if we have the series resonance circuit, these two actually become inactive and it is acting as a short circuited part. So, this is the main difference between a series resonance circuit and a parallel resonance circuit. So, now we will go ahead with the resonance curve for parallel resonance circuit. Have a look at this curve. The current is dropping to a minimum in a parallel resonance circuit at resonance. See, this is the omega naught term, we can write omega naught because there is a resonance happening at omega naught. The current drops to a very low value, it flows only through the resistor. So, we have discussed about the parallel resonance circuit in detail. In the series resonance circuit, current shoots up to a higher value, but in parallel resonance circuit, it drops to a low value. So, when it is shooting up to a higher value, it is called an acceptor circuit. When it is becoming a lower, so it is called a rejector circuit. Parallel resonance circuit is called sometimes as a current rejecting circuit. Both have their uses in the electrical circuits. Now, it is time for us to see the summary of what we have learnt in this lecture. In this lecture, we have seen the concepts of power dissipation, power factor, bandwidth of resonance curve and parallel LCR circuit. Before we wind up this lecture, let us test our understanding by answering these questions. Get the expression for power dissipation in an AC circuit. What is power factor? Explain about wattless current. What is bandwidth of a resonance circuit? Explain about the parallel LCR circuit. So, with this I wind up this lecture. See you in other lectures with greater concepts. Thank you for watching.